Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Made by Mumino podcast. My name is Kathryn and this is mostly a knitting podcast where I talk about any projects that I'm working on, any test knits, that kind of thing. And to tell you a bit about myself, I've been doing this for a whole year now. Last week was my so-called Podiversary, so there'll be a little giveaway a little bit later in the episode. But I live in Germany. I'm originally from Wales in the UK. But I live in Mönchengladbach with my partner permanently. Mönchengladbach is kind of a smallish city, kind of halfway between Dusseldorf and the Dutch border. And it's a really nice place to live, really close to lots of countryside, but also within walking distance of a decent bakery. So, so happy days. By profession, I'm a teacher. And I've lived in Germany for quite a while now and I really enjoy living here. Today, what am I going to talk about? We've got some finished objects, a few things that I'm working on, and a couple of test knits to talk about, as well as some very irresponsible purchases. So at the beginning, in the titles, I think I will have put some footage of a beach. So last weekend, my partner and I went to Domburg, which is over on the Dutch coast, to celebrate our 8-year anniversary. And while we were there, we visited a lovely yarn shop, and there'll be a little tour of that at the end of this podcast. So I try to go and visit local yarn shops as much as possible wherever I'm going for other reasons in the area. So we don't live too far from Belgium and lots of cities in the Netherlands and loads of really beautiful German cities. And every time I have to go and visit one of these places, I try and fit in a yarn shop tour for the podcast as well. So if you're interested in those, check back in my previous episodes because there's playlists for Belgium and Germany and the Netherlands and also some Scandinavian countries as well as the UK, of course, when I go back there. But yes, today, lots of things to talk about and a couple of test knits that I'm really excited about. And traditionally, I will get started with what I'm wearing. But firstly, just a reminder, I always put chapters in. So if there's any part that you're not interested in, please feel free to skip. Also, anything I talk about is linked down below. But if I've missed anything or a link is broken in a previous episode or something, please do let me know. I'm more than happy to help out. Thank you so much for the lovely comments and likes for my last video. I really appreciated it. Thank you for the emails and things as well. It's really nice when people reach out and get in touch. I've been doing this for a year now and it's just been really nice to get to know people in the knitting community, and I really enjoy making these videos, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So grab yourselves a drink. I've got some peppermint tea today. I picked up this mug in Wonderwall last year when I went there in Wales with my mum. In fact, we're going again this year. I just really liked it. So yes, anyway, peppermint tea for me today. So grab yourselves a drink and we will get started. Today I am wearing a very bright red slipover. How fun is that? This is the Tetra slipover from Rachel Costello. I should have put my hair up so you could see it better. I made this as a test knit for Rachel Costello a couple of years ago, and it's really fun. The construction, I'll put a picture up here of me wearing it. In fact, I think I may have even been wearing the same dress in those pictures. Anyway, the construction's really fun. It's knitted garter and it's kind of knitted flat, but it's knit in different sections. You start off with one of the front sides and then you pick up for the other front side. So you're constantly turning the work as you're joining on the different pieces, and then you pick up and do these the edging and things afterwards and the ribbing afterwards. So it's such a cool pattern because you're knitting it sideways. You can immediately choose what length you want to have the body. So I went for quite a cropped version here because I'm wearing it, I tend to wear it over dresses and things, so that's what I like to go for. But in the schematic for the pattern, Rachel lays out all of the different options for the different body lengths and different ways of customizing the pattern. So it's a really, really cool, versatile pattern. I will definitely make another one at some point. I even bought yarn to do so. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. This is knit on a 4.5mm needle, which is a US 7. The pattern calls for DK, but I found I got a really nice gauge with West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Aran, and this is the colourway Raywick, I think, Rayick, I'm not sure how to say it. See, I even struggle with English words. So yeah, this is made on 4.5mm needles, and it was a reasonably quick knit. Don't be daunted by the pattern if you do purchase it. It's very long, there are a lot of pages, but you don't need most of it because they're to cover all the different ways of customizing the pattern. So yeah, it's a really cool construction. I really like it and it feels nice. I love wearing a slip over a dress in this kind of in-between seasons. So here in this part of Germany right now, we're just getting into spring. It's the end of February, temperatures are starting to get a bit higher. I'm having to stop myself from planting lettuce in my balcony boxes because it's too early. Just be patient, calm, wait. I love this time of year though, because you can start growing things. I've placated myself by buying some herbs. So I'll keep them going for the next couple of months, and yeah, then I can get started on planting some tomatoes and salad and stuff. Anyway, I digress. This is a really cool pattern. Link down below if you fancy a nice garter stitch pattern with a little bit more interest, because as I said, you're knitting one side, then you're picking up down the middle to then knit in the other direction. So it's a really cool construction, really interesting pattern. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. So I used about 5 skeins of West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Aran, so about 830 metres or just over 900 yards. And yeah, it's really, really cool pattern. So I do recommend it if you're looking for something a bit different I can't talk today, by way of a slip over. So that's what I'm wearing. Okay, the next pattern that I'm going to talk about is kind of a finished object, but also I'm not sure if it's finished. I have knit myself a Kaiho cardigan. This is a beautiful pattern from Ronja Hakulito. It's a paid for pattern, but unfortunately not available as a single download. It's currently only available in this book, Lakeside Stitches. And it's a really gorgeous pattern, again for DK. So if I show you her version. Now, as you can see, her version has pockets, and I haven't yet put pockets on mine. I would be wearing this today, but it's a little bit damp because I've just taken it off the blocking mats. It's a little bit damp. Right, let's talk about the construction first. It's a really, really simple drop shoulder construction. Thoroughly enjoyed knitting it. So as with most drop shoulder constructions, you start at the back, knitting across, doing some short rows, and then pick up for the shoulders, knit down the front, join under the arms, knit, 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 knit. Pick up some stitches to put some arms on. The only adjustments that I made to this pattern were in the depth of the armhole. The pattern is very relaxed and very loose fitting, and I wanted it to be even more so because I wanted to be able to wear it as a top layer instead of a jacket. So I wanted quite deep armholes for this. I therefore knitted slightly longer than the pattern suggested before I joined. So this part here to make the armhole a bit deeper. I therefore picked up a few more stitches when I went to do the arm, which meant that I had to just insert a few more decrease rounds as I went down. So the same on that side as well. It's given a bit more of a sort of a bat wing feel for the sleeves, but that was kind of what I was going for. Anyway, after you finish knitting all of the body, you then pick up all the way around the edge, all the way from the bottom of the one side of the button band to the other side, and then knit. So yeah, I love this. It was a really nice knit, and as you can see, I've made this in unspun. This is made in Nutiden, and I held it double throughout, and how glorious is that colour? It's absolutely stunning. So I knit the 4th size. I have, I should have said actually for this pattern as well, I have about 120 centimetre bust. I'm quite short here and quite narrow here, so I tend to pick a size, particularly if I'm doing colour work, that gives me almost no positive ease, purely because I find that if it fits me for this measurement, it's then a bit too big everywhere else. So I tend to go for something that offers almost no positive ease, if not negative ease, and then it tends to fit me a little bit better. So yes, I went for the size 4 in this pattern, and I held the Nutiden double throughout, and I knit to pattern other than that slight adjustment, and I used 428 grams of Nutiden. So that's held double, and as you can see, haven't done pockets yet. So if I put pockets on, I'm going to be using most of 500 grams of Nutiden for this project. I thought, I can't decide whether or not to put pockets on it. I don't think I will. I wanted to block it first and wear it and see how I felt about it, and then make a decision about pockets. So hopefully later, if it's when it's completely dry, I'll take some pictures wearing it and hopefully insert them up here. If there's no pictures, it didn't happen. Yeah, I can't decide. I think that I'm erring towards no. I don't think it needs it, but I'm not sure. I really love the relaxed construction. So the don't be alarmed if the arms come out quite big or quite long, because as you can see in the pattern, she's designed it to have this folded cuff, which is what I've done. And yeah, I tried it on briefly before I blocked it, and I was really happy with the fit. It's very relaxed, very kind of open. It just meets in the middle, and I'm looking forward to wearing it in the spring. But yeah, can't decide what to do about the pockets. Not sure what to do with that at all. Oh, I should say this was made on 6mm needles, which is a US 10, so quite a quick knit. The only thing that slowed me down a bit was that, of course, it's knitted and held double, so occasionally there's a little bit of breakage. If I show you, this is what I've got left from 500 grams. And as I said, I used about 428 grams. So don't assume that one of these plates is 400 grams, because I haven't, sorry, is 100 grams, because I haven't touched this yet. And it's slightly under. So you must weigh them beforehand to make sure that you're happy with it. So have I got any pre-prepared? No. I tend to wind off the Nutiden into little balls like this. This is the end of one, so it's more of a nugget than a ball. And I tend to knit from those rather than from the plate. You can knit directly from the plate, and I sometimes do, but I do find that once you get to the middle, it tends to collapse a little bit, and you get this long, thin thing of Nutiden instead of a nice round, flat plate to wind off, so it's a bit more difficult. Another thing I've seen people do is pushing the middle out and then winding off these little balls from the middle, which is a nice idea. I think Jule from Wool & Twine recommended doing that for her unspun. But yeah, I love working with Nutiden. It's a really nice light fabric that you get from it. So as you can see, this has got it just weighs nothing. I mean, I know it's 400 grams, but it feels like nothing at all. And they pack down really small, but they're lovely and warm. And if you haven't tried it, I really do recommend trying an unspun yarn. They're just so versatile and excuse me, lovely to work with. So yeah, that is my Kaiho, which I think means something like relaxed or like languor, that kind of thing in Finnish. So yeah, my cardigan is done, and that needs to go very carefully back on the blocking mats, so I'll go and do that now. Okay, the next thing to talk about are some finished socks with a Star Wars theme. I made these for a friend, and here it is. This isn't really with a specific pattern. So I have loads of different sock blockers in different sizes, but for these bigger sizes that I don't really use very often, I only have one of each. So yeah, I've got one sock blocker here. I need to block the other sock. Yeah, this wasn't from a specific pattern. I've made loads of notes on Ravelry, so check out the project page if you're interested. I found this little chart for Stormtrooper helmets online, and I thought I have to make some socks with some leftover yarn that I had. Yeah, I just made it up as I went along. This was some leftovers for Landhaus Atelier that I had from a project that I made for my partner. And I won't talk about these very much because I've already talked about them in 2 previous episodes, but just to let you know, they're finished. I need to block the other one, and then these are going in the gift pile. I think I know who they're for, but yeah, they were a lot of fun to knit. I think that once you've got a favourite vanilla sock recipe, as long as you don't mind a little bit of maths, it's nice and easy to insert different motifs and patterns and things into it, and it can be a nice way to use up leftovers of different colours of yarn. And yeah, I have an idea for the next pair that I want to make, so that's those. You can see where I had the jog on the other side there, but I've done a little 1x1 alternate there, carried on the contrast colour for the heel to make a little saddle across the top, and did some 1x1 stripes down at the bottom. Just a bit of fun, and nice for my friend who's a big Star Wars fan maybe. So that's that. Oh, and incidentally, I tend to knit my 4-ply socks on 2.25mm needles, which is a US one. So yeah. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is kind of half a finished object. These are my Kura socks from Miss Evil Knits. So these are also made in unspun. I had a big bag of bits and pieces of Nutiden, and I've wound off lots of different little nuggets of gorgeous little bits of colour. How gorgeous is that? And I'm just holding them double throughout to make some socks. So this isn't a pattern that's available on Ravelry. It's a kind of a recipe that the designer made through a series of YouTube videos, and I've linked that down below. If you have any trouble accessing it, just give me a shout, because I know a couple of people had trouble finding the details on YouTube after my last episode. So the recipe calls for a bottom-up sock. Now I have quite a deep instep, so I like to do a heel flap and gusset. Although a couple of people commented on the last episode that a Flegel heel might work for me, so I might give that a go next time. So yeah, because I wanted this top down instead of bottom up, I just reversed the pattern. So I started with a little garter stitch cuff, and I cast on 52 stitches for this, so they're big, they are big on me. That's kind of what I was looking for. And I've done this little grass stitch all the way down, then my heel, and then continued the grass stitch on the top. And in the last episode I talked about wanting to reinforce the sole of the sock, which I did. So I did a knit slip row every other row, as you would do to reinforce your heel as well, all the way down the sole. I don't intend to wear these under shoes or in boots. These are for wearing around the house, so sometimes when I go away for the weekend or something, there's not enough room in my suitcase to take my slippers. So I wanted to make some nice squishy comfy socks that I can wear around in place of slippers, and these are definitely very warm and squishy. So all I did with the little bits of leftover Nutiden was hold them double. There I've held the same colour with itself, but in all of the other parts I've held just a dark with a light, and every time the colour has run out, just switched out to a different light or different dark colour depending on which one has run out. I haven't really made many notes on these yet. I will go to my Ravelry page and do that, but I thought I would just show you the first finished sock. I'm knitting these on a 3.25mm needle, which is a US 3. When I'm knitting socks, I tend to use these Addi trios. I talked about these a little bit in my last episode as well. They're just it's just an alternative to using DPNs, and I really like it because it means that I don't have to worry about switching out to DPNs, or if I'm doing magic loop, worrying about the long cable and stuff. Not a massive fan of magic loop, I have to say. My preferred method, my favourite method, is a small circular. I love my little Charagoos. But if you use those, then you have to switch out to some DPNs for the toe, which is irritating to have to take that with you as well. But with these, you can just stay knitting on them all the time. And yeah, so that is, I tend to use a 3.25mm needle when I'm knitting DK socks. So I've just used my DK sock recipe for the measurements for this. And I will make some more notes on Ravelry, just haven't got around to it yet. They look so funny when they're on, they're so thick and squishy. But it's exactly what I was going for. Hoping to cast on the second sock, maybe later today, later this week. I'm in no rush for these, so it's just a quiet project to tick over in the background. So that is my Kura socks from Miss Evil Knits. And I think I said in the last episode as well, Kura means something like to sort of to cozy in, like Korean in Scots, or to cwtch in Welsh means to sort of cuddle as well. It's a lovely word, cwtch. Okay, so now we're into test knits. I've just cast on a lovely pattern from Anniina Juuti, and this is the Hunaja. Now this pattern has already been released. It was released in a knitting magazine last year, I think, but the designer has done some amendments to the construction and added some bust arts, so she's doing a second test for this. Yeah, it was originally published in Taito magazine in 2024, and it's just a really pretty, simple sweater. If I talk to you a little bit about the gauge, I am making the 4th size, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 4th size, which will give me a little bit of negative ease, which is kind of what I'm looking for. This is designed for a fingering weight yarn, and for my size, you need about 1,250 meters. So it's knit on 3.5mm needles. Which is, what is that, a US 4, I think. And yeah, it's just a top-down yoke sweater. I'll show you the detail here. You've got these lovely little bubbles, and followed by a little cable and then a little lacework detail. So yeah, just started this. Not very far along yet. I am using for this 2 cones of woolly knit. I shall show you here. So this is Blue John Nep, and this is Pine Forest Green, and I'm holding these together. And woolly knit is a funny one. I knit with this a lot. I really like it. It's not the softest of yarns. It is quite rustic, but it is incredibly hard wearing. I was looking at the different sort of go-to garments that my partner and I both tend to wear a lot, and both of us tend to gravitate towards the ones that are made in the more rustic yarn. They bubble less, they wear really well, they don't stretch, they keep their fit. So yeah, whilst this is, like I said, not the softest yarn in the world, it's a really good price point, and it's very, very versatile. It is a funny one weight-wise though, because per 100 grams, I think it's something like 470 meters, and it's quite a skinny yarn. So don't I wouldn't say that this is a fingering weight yarn. This is I hold it double to get something that's between a fingering weight and a sport weight, something like that. So when the pattern calls for something like a 3.5mm needle, I find that when it's held double, it works really well. I wanted to do something a little bit different colour-wise, and I saw that this has got little flecks of blue in it. And I remembered I had this left over from another project, so I thought I would swatch with them held together, and I'm really happy with it. There's not a lot to show you yet. I've just done the first few centimetres of the yoke. Oh gosh, I'm in a tangle here. I hope this doesn't fall off the needles. Where's the best place to show you? Oh my goodness, I'm in such a tangle here. Right, where's my end of round? There it is. Okay, so this is what I'm getting so far. So we've got the little bubbles, and then the beginnings of those cables I was mentioning. And I'm hoping to finish the cable section and then move on to the lace section. And it's really nice. You won't be able to see the detail in it so much because it's such a dark colour, but I really like the effect. I think it's going to look lovely when it's finished. It'll be easier to show you once I put the collar in, so I think once I finish the yoke section I might put the collar in and then do some pictures to go on Instagram so you can see it a bit better. So with this pattern, it starts with the back. You knit flat for a few rows to put in some short rows, and then you join for the front. It's really simple to follow so far. There's a nice chart. I think it's written out as well, but I tend to just use the chart where there's one available. Is it here? Yes, yeah, so there's written instructions for the chart as well. Yeah, I tend to gravitate towards the chart. I was a bit daunted by charts, if I'm honest, when I first came back to knitting. But they're super easy to follow. If you want some advice on how to follow charts, have a look at Very Pink Knits. She does some really good tutorials on how to use charts for knitting around and knitting flat, because they are different. But as I've said in a previous episode, if you look back at the episode, I think it's episode 24, when I talked about the airbender shawl that I made, don't be daunted by complicated patterns. Your best friends are lots of stitch markers and some washi tape. Personally, I like to print my patterns so that I can use washi tape to follow where I am in the chart. Also, most designers will tell you to do this, but marking out between your pattern repeats makes it much, much easier to spot a mistake before you get to the end of the row. If you don't put any stitch markers in, and you've got, I don't know, what, 200 stitches or something by the time you get to the end, and you've made a mistake back on stitch 10, you've got a long way to go back. Also, when patterns are really complicated, I put lifelines in, but again, I talked about all of this. Oh gosh, if I drop stitches, I'm okay. I talked about all of this in some detail when I talked about the airbender pattern. Like I said, back in episode 24, I think it was. I'll link whichever episode it was up here if you're interested in some advice on how to follow more difficult patterns. Oh, I forgot to mention, after that episode, a few people said about lifelines that you can put, if you've got these needles with a hole in, you can put your lifeline through the needle and bring it through. Absolutely, of course you can. I prefer personally to thread it on a needle and put it through, because it just gives me an opportunity to check all of my stitches and things as well, and gives me a little break. That's just the way I prefer to do it, but it is much, much quicker to put your lifeline through your working needle and just pull it through as you're knitting a row, definitely. But yes, do I want to say anything else about this? There's the deadline is, I think, the end of March. So I want to get this into a state where I can just knit round and round on the body, so it becomes a bit more mindless to follow. And I think I should probably finish the yoke in the next couple of days. But yeah, so far enjoying this. Nice knit. I've not knit one of Anniina Juuti's patterns before. She also has a podcast as well, so I'll link that down below too. I've bought a couple of her patterns, the Zigzag Zen blanket and the tanka top, both of which I fully intend to make. It's always the way. I buy these patterns and then I have a list of a million patterns that I want to make, and I only have one pair of hands. I will get to it eventually. But that's the Hunaja sweater, which I think means honey in Finnish. I looked it up yesterday. Okay, the second test knit that I'm going to be working on, I haven't started yet because I'm still waiting for the yarn. I've ordered some, what's it called? Cortiva from Wool Dreamers in Spain, and it should have arrived on Saturday, but it was delayed with the delivery company. So I'm just waiting for that. I'm going to be making this Moonflowers sweater from Knitting for Breakfast. And I don't know if you've come across these designers. They are Italian sisters, and they make the most beautiful, delicate, sumptuous, just, beautiful, really, really gorgeous sweater patterns, cardigan patterns, delicate lace work, intricate colour work, just really, gorgeous patterns. I've got loads of them in my queue. Again, I've never made one of their patterns, and I saw this come up in my Instagram feed and I thought I'd really like to have a go at this. It's a top-down circular yoke. It's all over colour work, all over stranded colour work. I think some of the rows have got 3 colours in as well. Again, it's charted, and I'm going to be knitting the 4th size. I don't know why, but whenever I do colour work, it tends to come out, my gauge tends to be looser than when I do regular knitting. I don't know why. If you've never done stranded colour work before, it does affect your gauge. So make sure that you swatch and that you're comfortable with what you're getting before you embark on the full sweater. Yeah, for me, I always knit on a looser gauge. No idea why. I'm probably overcompensating because I'm worried about knitting too tight. Anyway, this sweater calls for 5 different colours, and like I said, I'm going to be knitting the 4th colour. This, I'm looking for this. Oh yeah, so the main body is knit on 4mm needles, which is US 6, and it just looks really pretty, really delicate. I'm going for a slightly different palette to this. I'm sticking with non-variegated colours, so solid colours. And I'm going for kind of pinks and pale greens with a little bit of cream in there as well. And I'm really looking forward to getting started. I love doing colour work. When I first came back to knitting, I was, again, really daunted by doing colour work, but I just went for it. The first colour work I ever did was a test knit for Isabel Kramer, the Nephili sweater. And yeah, that's why I love doing test knits, because I try to pick things that have a new technique, that where I'm going to have to learn a new technique, or I'm going to challenge myself in some way. This sweater has got these little knots on it. I've never done this construction before. I've made lots of different knots in different things, but there are so many ways of making them, and this was another new to me method. So no, I really love doing test knits. I thrive on deadlines. and I enjoy a challenge. So yeah, really looking forward to getting started on this. I'm not sure how long I'm going to do the sleeves. This feels like it'd be very pretty over a linen dress, so I might aim for a 3/4 length sleeve. We shall see. I'll see how I feel when I actually cast it on. So I'm pretty sure that's everything that I'm working on right now. There's no project page for this yet, or there is a project page, but it's not got anything in it yet on Ravelry, just because I haven't started it yet, so I don't know where I'm at with gauge and so on. But I will update as that comes along. As I said at the beginning of the episode, I've been doing this for a year now, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's been so nice to make my own little contribution to the knitting community and to show you around all the lovely local yarn shops near me, and yeah, to share that with you. It's been really, really good fun. I've really enjoyed it, and the knitting community has been really welcoming, accepting, and it's just been a really nice experience. So I thought I would say thank you by doing a little giveaway. To celebrate our local yarn shops, instead of me sending you yarn or a pattern or something like that, I thought that I would give you a gift voucher for your local yarn shop. So I would like you to comment down below, LYS, local yarn shop, to give your local place a shout out. I will then do a draw before the next episode. So I release an episode every Monday, so you've got 2 weeks. In fact, it might actually be a Tuesday on the next episode because I think I have an appointment in 2 weeks. Anyway, so yes, I will do the draw before the next episode and I will announce the winner in the episode. I will not write it in the comments. If anybody answers one of your comments saying that you've won, ignore it, do not reply. Feel free to report it or let me know, whatever. I will let you know in this episode and then I will ask the winner to contact me via email. So yes, comment LYS and tell me about your local yarn shop. Let's celebrate our local yarn shops, and the winner will receive a €20 or equivalent. I think €20 is about $20 as well. Gift voucher for your local yarn shop, and once you email me, we'll arrange the best way of doing that. So yes, that's to celebrate my podiversary and do a little giveaway. Speaking of local yarn shops, I've made some irresponsible purchases, so let's move on quickly to acquisitions. I can't show you the Wool Dreamers yarn yet, but I will talk about it in my next episode when hopefully I will have cast on the test knit as well. But I can tell you about some yarn that's just arrived. So my partner chose some yarn. I didn't buy this, I didn't order this, my partner bought and ordered this. He loves the colours from the WIP Yarn Company. He's a big fan of these lovely, strong, saturated colours, and I think I'm going to make, he's asked me to make him a Copenhagen Calling cowl from Isabel Kramer. I'll put a picture up here for you, which requires 2 different colours. This is a new base from Ross at the WIP Yarn Company, and it's called Merknen. Careful how I say that. And this is a non-superwash yarn that has been dyed. It's just glorious, absolutely glorious. So it's 40% BFL, 40% Shetland, 20% alpaca, and 100 grams is 350 meters. So it's a good traditional sport weight. This colour is called Lagoon, and this colour is called Nebula, and they are just, oh, gorgeous. Squishy, a little bit rustic, but still soft. They're just, oh, beautiful. My partner loves Ross's colours. I don't know if you have a look at my project page. There's lots of quite sort of muted colours, although I do wear bright colours sometimes. And that tends to be all the things I knit for myself, with a couple of exceptions. And then there's the stuff I knit for my partner. So it's brilliant. I love knitting with a variety of yarns. I love knitting with all sorts of different colours and things. And because we have quite different tastes in terms of the colours that we're drawn towards, I get to knit all sorts of fun things. So yeah, that was the first irresponsible purchase. I believe that Ross still has some of this base in many different colours left on his website, so do go and check it out. He is an absolute wizard. He dies in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, so it's reasonably local to me. It's only about an hour or so away from me. The other thing that I bought was this, I can't even, this silk mohair. At the end of this episode, I'm taking you on a little yarn tour of a yarn shop I go to near Domburg in the Netherlands, over on the Dutch coast, called Atelier Jaffari. If there are any people who are local to me watching and you go over to the Dutch coast, I really do recommend that you go and check it out. It's a little bit off the beaten path. The lady who runs it, Jeanette, I think her name is, she's so sweet and she has a really nice offering, and she dyes a little bit of her own yarn as well, including this gorgeous mohair. If you've been watching me for a while, you will have seen some green mohair that she also dyed up, I made it into a lento, which is actually the end card that I use for all of my episodes. And I think I'll probably do the same with this. I'll hold it with something in a light pink, I imagine, and make another lento. But it's gorgeous. The makeup of this is 52% kid mohair, 20, I said 52, didn't I? 72% kid mohair, 48% silk, and it's 420 meters per 500 grams. And it's the colour is just beautiful. I am a fan of hand-dyed mohair, so yes, irresponsible purchases there. Never mind. It's been an expensive month this month. Okay, so I need to go and have some breakfast, so I think I'll probably leave you to it. I don't think I have anything else to talk to you about, other than thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Thank you if you've been here since the beginning, because I know a few of you have. Thank you for sticking with me for a year. And please join the giftaway, and I will speak to you in 2 weeks. Happy knitting, happy crafting, and have a lovely day wherever you are. Bye.
you.